Y'all ready? Good evening, this is Scorpio Chronicles. Thank you for joining me once again for another comic book review. This time I am back with Chew 3. This is part 3. If you haven't seen 1 and 2, I did a review on those to the previous video before this one. Go ahead and take a look. It's a short little review, but you'll get the gist of it. But just to give you a recap on Chew 1 and 2, it is about a brother and 2 sisters that have these psychic abilities when they eat stuff. You have Tony Chew, who is the older brother. Well, not the older brother. He's he's like the middle sibling. They have 2 older siblings, an older brother and a sister. But Tony Chew, he's a detective, and how he helps solve the crimes to see what happened is when he eats, he can tell you exactly what happened to that person. For example, if he were to eat like a piece of chicken, he can actually get psychic abilities and see exactly how that chicken was slaughtered, what that chicken went through. So imagine going through that as you eat. I couldn't imagine, because I don't want to know how the cow was slaughtered when I eat my steak. I don't care, to be honest with you. I want to enjoy my steak. But he also has 2 younger sisters that are twins, Saffron and Sage. Saffron, her psychic abilities, I think it's called cyberopathy. It's like Cyberon and cyberopathy. It's a weird name. It's something like when they eat. When she eats with somebody, she can get all of their secrets and all about that person. It reveals everything about that person to her. She has that psychic ability. Her twin sister, Sage, when she eats, she can actually see things that actually took place while she eats. But we hear that's with 1 and 2. With part 2 is when they actually, if you see the review before this one, they actually had Mr. Murder, I believe is his name. They had a contract out on Saffron and her boyfriend, because they were part of a group of people that were trying to steal from this big time mafia guy. They were trying to steal from him. They owed him money, so instead of paying him, they're trying to steal from him. And the chef that was in part 1, okay, if you read it, you'll see he makes the food in the shape of the building, and she was eating parts of the building and getting information about the building, like the secret passageways and things of that matter. It's very, very cool book. I really, really enjoyed the series. But they went to try to steal from a guy that was in the mafia, and they ended up, getting sick, and someone ended up dying. They ended up having a shootout, and now that mafia has a hit out on Saffron and her boyfriend, which her brother Tony was a detective that investigated that what was happening then, and he doesn't know that his sister is a part of it. They don't know what type of work their sister does. But Sage is her twin, and she has that kindred feeling, how twins get, where they can tell when one is in trouble. Sage feels that, Saffron is the one right here, the pink. Sage is the one with the green hair. And that is actually their grandfather, Ong Chu. And he plays a big role in the book also now. But when she has that feeling about her sister, of course, they find out that Saffron has a hit out on her. But what they don't find out, Saffron find out that there's a hit out on her from Mr. Murder, and her boyfriend sent him to the nursing home where Sage Chew works at and where their grandfather resides. And he sent her to the nursing home, telling her that that was his girlfriend, because the Mr. Murder was actually going after everyone that was close to Saffron's boyfriend. Which, let me just find out what his name is. because I don't want to keep referring to him as Saffron boyfriend. His name, let me see here. I want to say it's like Michael or something like that, of that matter. He is mentioned in the book, and he is in the book a few times. But let's see here. It's in a couple. Bear with me for just 1 second here. Eddie is his name, not Michael, excuse me, Eddie. And Sage is not a fan of Eddie. She thinks that Eddie is a very bad influence on Saffron. But there is a portion where he sends, the hitman over to the nursing home. When he gets to the nursing home, let me just show you right here. He actually does take out a lot of people in the nursing home coming after, because all he knows that his last name was Chu. But Sage, not knowing that he was coming to kill her, thinking he's Saffron, he thought that the hitman was coming for their grandfather, Ong Chu, which Ong Chu is actually, he has World War II stories about the stolen Nazi gold. And what he actually did is he actually killed some of his infantry people for the gold. And you got pictures of him actually shooting his people that are in his infantry for the gold. And he ended up taking that and stealing that gold. And he ends up coming back to the States and, rubbing shoulders with a lot of the mafia. But before, he ends up stopping, which I find is very peculiar, in this little, let's see here, about a very unfortunate group of pioneers and the grisly fate in the Sierra Nevadas. And these people are actually eating right there. They're actually eating humans. So I'm beginning to wonder if he's part of the whole, how they got their psychic abilities. So he ended up in a nursing home, and of course he has a lot of hits out on him. They're actually looking for him. But unfortunately, he actually outlived all of his enemies. So he's the only one still alive. So they're still thinking that maybe someone is still coming after him. But Sage, unbeknownst to her, he's coming after her instead, thinking she's Saffron. But of course, when they get to the nursing home, Sage is running to, save her grandfather to protect him. And before Mr. Murder could actually try to point the gun and get ready to shoot Sage, Saffron pops in and eliminates him with a gun, which is her first time ever killing someone. So she was like, for the very first time in her life, she actually shot someone. So that was like a weird feeling for her, because she's not used to stuff like that. So then, of course, they get into this whole big talk about, this Sage is still trying to figure out what's going on with Saffron. Saffron's not telling her the truth, and she's just trying to protect her sister. So that's just pretty much all. Of course, Tony comes to the scene, and he's figuring out that something is wrong. Now, there's one thing about Tony. He's a cybopath. There you go. One thing about Tony, if he eats beets, he can't tell you what happened. So what he does, he actually goes to the scene and he gets like a piece of the body and he'll chew on it just to get information. But she just so happens to pour like beets on all the people there. So when he eats it, he can't tell what happened. So that's a way. And dressed up as the nurse, so Sage is a nurse at the nursing home, but dressed up as the nurse is actually Saffron. So she covered up her pink hair so you can't tell the difference. Saffron has pink, Sage has green, and Tony didn't tell the difference between the two. So, and Saffron has a way of looking in the face and lying to you, and you can't tell whether she's lying or not. So that was a good way. But then there's a part where it gets closer to the end of the book where Saffron does meet up with Eddie. And when she meets up with Eddie, he's trying to figure out a way of getting them out of there, getting them safe, because they have so many people that are after them, so many hits out on them. So they come to meet up a person named Mr. Paper. I like the little names these people have. You have Mr. Murder, the hitman, and you have Mr. Paper. He's the guy that gets you the passports, gets you the IDs and things, the papers that you need to flee the country. Isn't that ironic? Mr. Papers. So Mr. Papers comes in, and of course he sits and they're at a restaurant, and he eats with them, and Saffron orders the exact same thing he orders. Exactly the same order and everything, just so she can try to get into his head and see what is actually going on. But apparently what he's doing is, while he's eating, he's like thinking of different stuff as he's eating, so it's kind of blocking her memory of getting the information that she's needing. So he'll sit there and say, like small talk, bullshit, bullshit. He's saying that in his head, like bullshit, bullshit, small talk, and all she's saying is bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. And so it's like she can't get into and see his secrets and things of that matter, to see what happened. But of course, at the end, when he is actually going out to get the papers and getting them the information that they need, Saffron is beginning to have this feeling in her stomach. She's not feeling well. They get outside, and Mr. Papers is actually standing in front of a dumpster. He turns around, pulls a gun, aims, and tries to kill Eddie and Saffron. Come to find out, he's one of the hitmen that they have a hit out on them. So that was a setup. But for the second time, Saffron used a gun and killed someone in the same day. 2 people in one day. Her first time killing somebody. But of course, at the end, she said she felt bad about doing it, saying that she had to, and she was feeling sad. But of course, like they're saying, it's only the beginning of it. So there's still people after them. And so Chew 3 is getting, to me, it's getting interesting. This is actually something that I'm really enjoying. Of course, my comic book home away from home, Nerd Out Comics Tampa, here they are actually making sure that it's on my pull list, and I appreciate them for that. And Chew 3 is actually very good, so I'm looking forward to Chew 4 to see what's going to happen with Eddie and Saffron, and to see if Tony and Sage are going to finally figure out what Saffron is actually up to, because she's been hiding it very well, and I just want to know what's going to happen next, and is Chew going to continue? So that's something that I really would enjoy. But yeah, this is actually a very good book. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I'm enjoying it, as Chew 3, and that is by Mr. John Layman and Dan Boltwood. Stay tuned for Chew 4, and because it's a 5-part series, so there's 2 more books, so stay tuned for those 2. And don't forget, Batman 100 comes out this week, so be looking forward for that review. Cannot wait to do that, to see what happened. It's the first cameo appearance of Ghost Baker, so I'm looking forward to doing that review to see what's actually going to happen. It's supposed to be the ending of the Joker War. So we're going to see, what's actually going to happen. I'm really super excited about that. So that would be all. That was my review of Chew 3. If you want to see 1 and 2, go back and look at my previous video and watch my short little review of it. And I hope you enjoyed as much as I'm enjoying doing the reviews. I will be back with more content. And like I always say, stay positive, test negative, and don't forget to vote.